Hello, I'm Rob Hosking, former frontline police officer turned motivational TEDx speaker. And today I'm going to look into how we can become a more resilient individual. Now for me, resiliency is key in everything that we do in our lives. And as a former frontline police officer, I understand the importance of resilience. So I had to have that inner fortitude to keep going day in and day out, seeing the worst in people and dealing with the most horrific things in this world. Now, when I look back at that time, I understood that resilience was not something everybody can have, but it was something that everybody can learn to have. It was something that you can teach. And for me, I understood that resilience has 4 sides. It is a resiliency square, so to speak. So let's look into the 4 sides that we need to build resiliency. The first one is that the small steps make the big difference in our lives. And I say this quite a lot, that we have to focus on the small things for our well-being and mental health. However, for our resilience, it is no different. It is understanding the small things each day, it's the small steps each day which create the lasting impact. You see, you may have a goal in your mind, and the resiliency is understanding that you're not going to get potentially that goal tomorrow. You may not get that goal next month. Resiliency is understanding that when the days are bad, when you feel like you're further away from that goal than you ever are, it's important to keep going and just take that little step each day. And don't get me wrong, some days are going to be bigger steps than others. But understanding that to get that goal, it is a constitution and it's made up of these small steps. It really does help us build more resiliency. See, when I was trying to join the Royal Navy when I was younger, I had a fitness test, and before the fitness test, the fitness coach came up to me and he said, no matter what you do, just keep going. And that is the lesson I've taken into my life even today. You see, no matter how slow you may think you're going, no matter how small the steps may be, the important thing is to never stop. Just keep going. Having that knowledge and doing this in our lives is key to building resiliency. Number 2, the second side is all about self-belief. I always believe that we have to have an inner self-belief to be able to tell ourselves what we can do in our lives. Because unfortunately, there'll be so many people in our lives that will tell us what we can't do. So many people will put limitations on you because of their own limitations, because of what they see possible in their own lives. So it's key that we understand that that is on them, that is on their limitations rather than our own. And we need to have a self-belief to understand that anything is possible in our lives whenever we put our mind to it. Now, self-belief is key whenever we're having setbacks especially. And Roger Federer spoke about this recently. See, Roger Federer was so successful in the tennis world. And he said that he won over around 80% of his matches ever played. However, he actually only won 54% of the points he'd ever played. Only just above half. So he was losing a point every other point almost, but yet he was still so successful and still won the many games that he did. And he understood the importance of the next point. See, it was so important that he forgets about the last point, the ones that he maybe just lost. They were now in the past and they no longer served him to stay in the past. He had to understand that the next point was the most important point. And he says that the best are the best, not because they win every point. The best are the best because they will know they will lose and they've learned how to deal with it. See, it's all about self-belief understanding that the mistakes you just made, in his case if he missed a shot, that didn't define how good he was just because he missed his last shot. He had to understand that the self-belief in looking at his experience, his previous experience, that he was an incredible player and he had the training and practice to be able to win any game. Understanding that the next point was the most important one was key in achieving the success that he did. You see, self-belief is integral to build resiliency in our lives. The next side is mindset. See, mindset and changing our mindset is so important. Now, changing our mindset when it comes to failure or mistakes is key to building resiliency. I'll take a lesson from Michael Caine here, where when he was a young stage actor, he was on this improvised stage play, and there's a couple of people who were on the stage. Now, as they were doing their thing, a chair was flung over and it hit the door, and it lodged itself in the door that Michael Caine was meant to be coming into. Now, as Michael Caine tried to open the door, he couldn't. He said to the director, "I can't get in." The director said to Michael, "Use the difficulty." To which Michael thought, "What are you on about?" The director said, "Use the difficulty, Michael. If it's a comedy, trip over the chair. If it's a drama, pick up the chair and smash it against the door." You see, it's about changing our mindset to the difficulties in front of us. It's about understanding that we can use the hardships, use the difficulties to help achieve a positive outcome. It's about what we learn from these situations, which matters the most. See, Thomas Edison took over 1,000 attempts to create the light bulb. But when he was asked about that, he said he didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was a creation with 1,000 steps. You see, we need to have failure to be able to achieve excellency. Without failure, we don't learn. Without failure, we can't change. Without failure, we don't get better. And changing our mindset when it comes to failure is so key. And I failed many times. There's been decisions in the police force where I wish I had made a different one. But I can't look back on those times. Instead, I need to understand that how can I use these mistakes to my advantage? The mistake was gone. The decision was made. But what I can do is make sure that I learn from it. I don't get bogged down by it. I don't let it impact me into indecision. But instead, I make sure that I take the learnings from it and I become a better officer as a result. See, changing our mindset when it comes to these failures and setbacks is so important when building our resiliency levels. See, the last one is all about our connections. See, our connections are pivotal in helping us become more resilient. And you may be surprised to hear that, because you may think that resiliency is something that comes from within. And you wouldn't be wrong. Because although resiliency is something that we have within ourselves and we can learn within ourselves, it can also be helped by other people. See, that research was carried out with this doctor in America regarding the COVID pandemic. It was stressful and unprecedented time in his career. And they spoke to him and asked him, "How did you have the resilience to keep going day in and day out?" And he said that it was the power of his connections. See, resiliency is a team sport. He spoke about his boss, who's a continual source of empathy and support. He spoke about the wider department, who was able to lend him resources and cut out some of the bureaucracy. He spoke about having a strong chief of staff and his connections with his wife and his children. All of these connections helped him in different ways. They gave him something unique. And to many people's surprise, he said that although he did have that inner fortitude within too, that he actually became more resilient by connecting with others in the most challenging of times. So if we want to become more resilient, understand that it's about connecting with others too. And when we can create this resiliency box, when we can carry out all these four sides, then we can be a more resilient individual. And that helps in so many aspects in our lives.